We have a special presentation that will be undertaken by Dr. Manoj Saxena, and it's entitled A Family's Journey from Injury to Recovery and Rebuilding. Dr. Saxena.
Okay, look, this isn't really about me talking much. I'm actually not going to say very much. There's a few others that we've got very specially for you today. I think just to introduce this session, I just want to talk about partnerships and also trust and responsibility. Let's start with partnerships. There's a three-way thing happening here between patients and their families, us as healthcare providers, and also supporting structures that help us do the best that we can. Between us and the patient, we're obviously trying to do the best that we can right now with the knowledge that we have, and we've heard a fantastic discourse about some of the pros and cons about the knowledge that we have and how we can apply that this morning. But in order to improve health for the future, it really behoves us as nurses and doctors to work with patients and other bodies so that we can improve on the knowledge that we have through clinical research and basic science research. And we can't do this without other bodies that support us. And I'll talk a little bit about those facilitators in a while. For the first part, we're going to meet, I'm just going to talk about trust. Okay, so I think one of the themes that we came out from this morning was that when a patient is injured, say after brain injury, or they have a stroke of some kind and they're critically ill, the patients and their family place their trust in us, and that's a very precious commodity. You'll often hear them say words like, you'll do your best, doctor. We know you'll do your best, doctors or nurses. And implicit in that phrase is that we know what the best is. And I think part of our problem is illustrated this morning by John, countered by David, and some lovely evidence provided by Virginia. We occupy this really uncomfortable space between the simple-witted man that Tolstoy describes, the one that can be easily led down one path or the other, and we're in between that and the wise man who already knows the truth, knows the answer, and will do what they think is right, even though it might be wrong. We're in that uncertain space, whether it be blood pressure, oxygen, or temperature, where there are lots of uncertainties that exist within us as clinicians. So when families say to us, they're putting their trust in us, do the best you can, there's still a lot of uncertainty, and that's a heavy weight that we carry. But we still do our best with the knowledge that we have. And what you're going to hear about now is a beautiful but challenging story of Chloe, a 19-year-old woman at the time, and she'll expand on the story. I'm not going to say too much. She comes from a lovely family on the south coast. Her mother's here as well, and she's going to talk to us about the journey that she undertook too. And I think we'll all learn something that will build on what we heard this morning about that delicate relationship between trust and uncertainty. And I just want to acknowledge also the innovators that help us. That's industry for me. They provide us with equipment that improves how we can control temperature, for example. This is one of 3 different devices that are on the market. Also outside you'll have seen microdialysis catheters and also Lycox devices that allow us to measure brain oxygen and temperature. They're innovations that if we carefully use them in controlled protocols, using research protocols, can improve the health of patients in the future. And you're going to see how Chloe has worked with us and her family have worked with us to do some extraordinary things that have allowed us to raise money through our foundation, who are the funding bodies that I'm referring to facilitate the research that we're going to do to improve health in the future. So that partnership is really important between patients, us, and the innovators. And with those thoughts, I'm just going to stop talking, and I'm going to hand you over to Chloe and then her mother, and they're going to talk to you about their journey. Thanks very much, Chloe. I really appreciate you coming.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you to Manoj and Peter for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all today. On the 8th of February 2012, I was involved in a high-speed motor vehicle accident on Remembrance Drive in Bargo. I was airlifted to St George Hospital, operated on for a number of hours, and placed in a medically induced coma. Obviously, given those circumstances, I didn't know I was actually part of a research study until many months later. I spent 46 days in post-traumatic amnesia. Once out of my coma, I was transferred to the Liverpool Brain Injury Rehabilitation Unit. Upon admission, my parents were told they probably would not have me out before Christmas. I was out by the 1st of June. Before the accident, I was an elite athlete. I was a swimmer whose special event was the 10-kilometre open water swim. To swim these types of events, you need strength, courage, and a lot of determination. These are the same attributes that it takes to move on from the types of injuries I sustained in the accident. The worst injury was my brain injury. My parents were initially told that if I survived, given the extent of damage on my brain, the chances of me resuming anything like my pre-accident life were at the very best remote. One of the best opportunities I was given was when I was asked by the St George and Sutherland Medical Research Foundation to take part in a fundraising initiative. That initiative was to walk the Kokoda track, with a great bunch of people all dedicated to raising funds for future research. We set off on the 1st of June 2013, 1 year to the day of my hospital release. I won't lie, it was not easy. There were several times along the way where people were concerned for my health and welfare. One of the physical results of my brain injury is that I no longer know when I'm overheating. So in the heat of the Papua New Guinean bushland, this posed a problem. After a few days, using cooling vests and neckties, the situation was brought under control. I have a rod in my right leg because my femur was snapped in two. Going uphill wasn't so much of the problem, going downhill was. Every bone in my body ached, every muscle was sore. I was overheating, but I was damned if I was going to be airlifted off that trek. With a lot of strength, courage, and determination, we all made it, including Manoj and one of my trauma nurses, Alana. I feel that it was both an honour and a privilege to have taken part in such a trek, in the same way that I feel honoured and privileged to have been a participant in Manoj's research. It is vitally important that research continues and that new methods of treating injuries, such as the ones that happened to me, are found. Without research, we don't get the good outcomes that are possible when improvements are made. So I stand here before you as a good outcome. Combining research with the strength, courage, and determination that it takes to undertake, it is one of the greatest gifts we can give to the world. Without research, without hard work and dedication from all parties involved, we may give the world a medical advancements that may not have otherwise been found. To all of you attending today, please know that patients like me appreciate all the hard work that goes into research and the good that it does. My biggest hope is that in the future we will have an even greater outcome than mine. Most days are hard, but I'm a positive person. Most days, I'd say I'm almost close to the person that I was before the accident. My life is very different to the one I thought I would be living, but the most important thing for me and my family is that I am here, able to live it. I am a good outcome, and I hope that on those days when you might feel as though life is tough, when you are fighting not only for the research dollar, but also to save a life, you will remember me and be inspired to keep going. Here's to many more good outcomes.
That was very moving. I think you're going to be moved even more, possibly. Nairi's a fantastic speaker, and it's a privilege to have you here today, Nairi. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the Foundation and Minaj and all of you here today for giving me the opportunity to speak to you from the viewpoint of a mum with a child in an intensive care unit, a child whose very life hangs in the balance. In these situations, with the exception of giving permission for procedures to be undertaken, parents and loved ones are stripped of the normal responsibilities they would have over their child. Those responsibilities are handed over to you, the doctors and nurses, and it is from you that we, the loved ones, take our cues. You become our guide, you become our advisor, and we place our faith in you to ensure you will do all the things for our loved ones that we are no longer able to do. Chloe was in ICU from the 8th of February to the 21st of February. During that time, I kept a diary, and when I look back on that, one of the most glaring consistencies that I write about is the respect and dignity given to Chloe by the doctors and nurses overseeing her care. Chloe, as you have just heard, was in a medically induced coma. No one will ever convince me that loved ones in a coma can't hear you. I'm quite certain that they can. And sometimes because I say so, that's the way it is. And so each day upon arrival, encouraged by the nurses, I would speak to her in exactly the same way that I would speak to her during the course of the normal day, sometimes rather inappropriately, but in the same way. When my son was born 5 weeks early in the back of an ambulance in the car park of St George Hospital, we are an extremely dramatic family, he was extremely ill. The hardest part as a parent, as a mum, was not being able to hold my baby when the time came to go home each evening. It was excruciating. One of the nurses took a Polaroid picture of him so I would always have him near me through our enforced separation. When Chloe was in ICU, I wanted to take a photo, but I wasn't sure whether people, especially the nurses, might think it ghoulish and a little strange. Working up the courage to ask if it was okay, I was relieved to find out not only was it okay, but it was encouraged. New technology allowed me now to carry my child in my pocket on the smartphone wherever I went. The intensive care unit is different to other areas of hospital. It is far more intimate, with a patient ratio between nurses and patients of 1-to-1 over a prolonged period of time. It is easy to feel that the outside world ceases to exist. Both loved ones and patients are cocooned, sheltered. This type of setting allows for the formation of bonds to occur between doctors, nurses and patients' loved ones. How you relate to our loved ones and to us is of the utmost importance to families. My diary is full of the little things that you in your capacity of as healthcare workers might take for granted in your day-to-day work. These small things, however, are often the things that make a big difference. I don't do wishy-washy, so I appreciated the doctors and nurses letting me know how it was, straight down the line. This is how it is, and this is how we need to deal with it. No outlandish promises, just the reality. I also often noted that when the nurses had done what the nurses had done. She was never the patient in bed for, she was always Chloe. I walked in one day to find her lips being moisturised by one of her male nurses. He was gentle and took care. Chloe had waist-length hair, much of which was matted and blood-soaked following her craniectomy. One morning, her hair had been washed and brushed as well as it could be and tied into a plait. You have no idea how important these small things are. In situations like the one I found myself in, as a loved one and a next of kin, we are dealing with so many other day-to-day formalities. There were insurance papers to deal with. There was a police investigation to deal with. There were 2 siblings who needed their mum and big sister. There was a husband and father who needed taken care of. I know many strong mums, but sometimes we need someone else to hold our hands and our hearts to let us know that what we are feeling is normal. ICU is a roller coaster. Your compassion, your empathy, your encouragement, your wise words and your ability to guide loved ones on their journey make riding that roller coaster a little bit easier. There may be days when you see life at its worst. When all hope may seem lost, when you have those times, please know that loved ones are looking to you for guidance, appreciate everything you do, and when the opportunity arises, Chloe and I visit the ICU at St George Hospital. Days like today provide a great opportunity for you to be assured that you are appreciated, that the work you do is worth it, and the way in which you undertake it is important. As doctors and nurses, you provide important support to loved ones, trying to make sense of something that makes no sense at all. You play an important role in ensuring that good outcomes occur. Chloe has stood before you today as a great outcome. Please know that your work is worth every ounce of the heart and soul you put into it. Thank you for your time.
So an important perspective and a different perspective to the heady science that we had this morning and the discussions about what we should or shouldn't do. I think that provides us with a very humanisation of the science, I guess. What we'd like to do now is just speak about these partnerships a little bit more. The foundation at this hospital, the St George and Sutherland Medical Research Foundation, has worked, as Chloe and Nairi have suggested, tirelessly to raise funds for research at our hospital, not just for us in the Department of Intensive Care, but very broadly. For us in the Department of Intensive Care, we've been very fortunate to have Chloe do the Trek for Trauma. One of the outcomes of that was that the Minister of Health for New South Wales, Gillian Skinner, awarded a large grant for us to buy equipment with research equipment, and that facilitated the purchase of some of the equipment that I've mentioned already. This would never have happened if Chloe and her family hadn't volunteered their time, and you can imagine preparing to walk the Kokoda track a year after you've left hospital with a very serious traumatic brain injury. It's a huge undertaking, both in terms of time and effort, not just for Chloe, but her whole family. So it's an opportunity, really, I think, for us to appreciate the family and also the foundation.
But it flew away from her reach, and the bullets catching